when you look at it clearly, the genre of music determines what it should be communicating. Reggae's strength and power lies in consciousness. It takes consciousness to communicate social issues. Every mood you find yourself in determines the kind of music you should be listening to. And even the people you know, you've not heard those songs from them, because when you get there, the tempo of the song is being toned down so the lyrics could be heard. So those songs are not as loud as the popular songs from those artists that you know. Hi people, it's Dixon and welcome to Durian Studios. Today's segment, I want us to talk about, or I want us to look at an issue currently on the ground where a legend in the person of Buju Banton is thinking or is saying Afrobeat artists are not using the Afrobeat to actually talk about social issues on the continent of Africa. So let's look at this to see if it's true. So stay tuned. The channel remains Durian Studios on all social platforms. So follow us, subscribe to the channel, join us in the comment section and tell us what you think about his view. Okay, and also follow us on all social media platforms. Durian Studios is the channel. So now, first of all, let's say a very big thank you to Buju Banton for saying that, or for telling us that it's not everybody that talk about your issue. The reason I'm saying thanks to him or thank you is because it's clearly understood that people that love you are the ones that talk about you or wants you to correct your mistakes. So based on that, I say thank you, or a very big thank you to him for reminding us, or for telling us that it just tells how much he wants the continent to grow or to be better. But let's proceed like this. Every genre of music has its own inspiration back in it, and the legend should know this, because he has been in music for a very long time. So probably he should know this. He should know there's inspiration behind every genre of music, which I will explain that in a minute. Okay, so now let's look at this. What do I mean by that? When you take reggae, for instance, the inspiration behind reggae is consciousness. That's the inspiration behind the genre of music. Reggae is consciousnness. Now when you take rap, the inspiration behind rap is supremacy, dominance, claiming just let's say dominance or supremacy. Let's put it like that. Supremacy. Now when you take Afrobeat, the inspiration behind Afrobeat is dancing or dance. Okay, yes. So let's just build our points on what I just mentioned. Every genre of music has its own inspiration back in it. Okay, so when you take that, or when you clearly understand that, Afrobeat artists are not doing different. They're doing just that. They're building, or they are composing, or they are composing or they're producing based on the inspiration behind that genre of music, which is the Afrobeat. Okay, so of course our artists are doing justice to it. But if he's saying we're not doing it, I'm sorry to say that we are. Probably he hasn't chanced on any of the songs, because when you take our big artists, for instance, when you take Burna Boy had a song which he was talking about the social issues happening in Nigeria, and he featured Manifest from Ghana on that. Now in other part of Africa, artists are doing it. Okay, when it comes to Ghana too, Stonebwoy did it. Stonebwoy had a song that he was talking, clearly he was speaking about, social issues. The title of those songs, I can mention one or two for time's sake. He has Rango, Stonebwoy Rango. You should go check it out. Stonebwoy Rango, you should check out Stonebwoy Suit and Ties, Stonebwoy Greedy Man. Go check it out. Equally, Sarkodie had the songs that he was speaking about the social issues. Shatwale equally has a song that he was speaking about social issues. There are a lot of episodes. Has a song that he was, speaking about social issues, there are a lot more people that had songs. They are Afrobeat artists. I don't know how you categorize them, but they're in Africa. They're from Africa. So I'm going to mention them. I'm going to put all of them in one basket and just make those statements. Right? Yes. They had songs that were talking about, social issues happening on the continent of Africa. So not that we're not doing it, we're doing it. But what you have to know is Afrobeat as a genre on its own has its own inspiration, which is dance. So for one to communicate social issues, it will be very, I wouldn't say difficult, but you have to find a way to do it. Let's look at it like this. Even the few Afrobeat artists that I mentioned, or Afrobeat artists that, had a song speaking about the social issues, has to tone down the tempo, because when you have it in Afrobeat tempo, fully Afrobeat tempo, it's not going to be listened to, because the tempo will overshadow the lyrics, because the tempo will be calling for dance, which means the lyrics are not going to be paid attention to. So what they do is they tone down the tempo of those songs. Probably because they tone down the tempo of those songs might not be as loud as the typical Afrobeat songs. So you might probably you've not heard it, but they're doing it. They had the songs that they had songs that were talking about social issues in Africa. Like I said, you have to tone down the tempo to get the lyrics exposed. If not, the tempo is going to overshadow. If you put it in the normal Afrobeat tempo, the tempo is going to overshadow the lyrics. So what they do is they do their best to tone down the tempo for the lyrics to be paid attention to. And like I said, probably in those ways, those songs are not loud, so you've not heard it. So you think they're not doing it. They're doing it. They're doing it clearly. They're clearly doing it. They're doing it beautifully. That's when I mentioned, Burna Boy, who had a song speaking about social issues, and he featured Manifest on that. Stonebwoy had it, Shatawale had it, Sarkodie had it, Episode had it. Many more artists had songs speaking about social issues. And when you listen to those songs, you clearly see they really care about Africa, as much as you care about Africa. Okay, now let's go to Bob Marley, one of the reggae artists that use reggae to communicate, social issues on the continent of Africa is Bob Marley. Now let's take Bob Marley for instance, or let's take reggae for instance. In Bob Marley's era, he wasn't the only reggae artist, speaking about issues like that. But I can boldly tell you there are artists who also had songs talking about African issues, or talking about, or preaching about Africa freedom, or freedom of Africa and all of that, but haven't been heard. Why? Because those people are not as big as Bob Marley. So Bob Marley's message was heard worldwide, but those people, because they're not big, their message were not heard all across the world. Same way happening in Africa currently. There are people writing songs about social issues, happening on the continent every day. But because they're not as big as, the artists that you've not heard those songs. That's one point. And even those artists that you've not heard these songs from them, because those songs, like I said, they won't be as loud as the other songs, because they had to tone down the records. They have to tone down the tempo of the songs, so it's not as loud as other songs from them. So it's not being heard. But to be honest with you, now they're doing it. They have it, and they're trying their best. Afrobeat artists, they don't only care about the money. At the point, they also care about the countenance, because when you make the money, you're taking it back. Okay, so they care about the continent, but like we said, there's more room for improvement. And Afrobeat, as a genre of music on its own, is new, right? I'm not saying new in terms of when it started and all of that. I'm talking new based on it being popular. That's what I'm referring to when I say it's new. So all of that, being it's not getting that attention. And first of all, you have to get you have to get the audience, or you have to gather the audience, enough to tell them everything. So Afrobeat is now gathering those audience that later on it will start speaking about other social issues happening happening on the continent. Okay, so now don't just give it to us like that. We're doing it, and just give us time, we will do it. Okay, yes, give us time, we'll do it. Reggae music has a lot of listeners. I mean lovers. Okay, and Afrobeat is also coming. So then to add to that again, let's take reggae, rap, and Afrobeat for instance. When when you use curse words in rap songs, the listeners are familiar with it. They're not going to be offended when you use curse words in the rap songs. Yeah, but when you use curse words, in reggae songs, the listeners are going to be surprised. The listeners are going to be surprised because what's happening here? What is he saying? Okay, now when he use words describing the attractive part of women in a dancehall music, they're gonna accept it. It's acceptable because the genre of music accepts that. So they're gonna they're familiar with it. They're cool with it. Okay, that is it. So you see, but reggae, when you use conscious words in reggae's strength and power lies in consciousness. So when you have something to preach, reggae has become that genre of music that you could equally put it there and preach it, and it's going to be heard. It's consciousness. So when a reggae lover is sitting down, probably, and listening, or when you see people listening to reggae, when you see people listening to reggae, not just the production, beat wise, but the lyrics means a lot to them. Yeah, the lyrics means a lot. Yeah, it doesn't mean other people in other genre of music, the lyrics don't mean a lot to them, or they're not wise enough to compose such music or such put such lyrics together. But when you look at it clearly, the genre of music determine what you should be communicating. Yeah, simply that's how it is. The genre of music clearly indicate what you should be communicating. And when you take reggae music, you should be communicating righteousness. When you take rap music, you should be communicating dominance, supremacy. When you take Afrobeat, you should be communicating to the dance. It's just dance. It's just dance, strictly dancing. That is it. That's what Afrobeat is for. So popularly the genre of music from Africa, which is making wave all across the world, is currently Afrobeat. Afrobeat is stopping is leading it, and Afrobeat is not what speaking about consciousness, and it takes consciousness to communicate social issues. And mind you, every mood you find yourself in determine the kind of music you should be listening to. When you find yourself in a meditating mood, I wouldn't want to say sad. When you find yourself in a meditating mood, you want to be listening to consciousness. When you find yourself in a happy mood, in a party mood, you want to be listening to what? You want to be listening to Afrobeat. So you see the difference between these two? Not these two. So you see the difference between every genre of music? So you should understand that. And when you clearly understand what I just explained, you know the Afrobeat artists are doing justice to, the Afrobeat artists are doing right. They're doing great with the genre of music, with that genre of music. And we just have to applaud them. It doesn't mean they're not wise enough. It doesn't mean they're not smart enough. It doesn't mean they don't really care about, the continent of Africa. So they're not communicating, they're not communicating the social issues happening on the continent, but rather thinking about the money. No. It's just clearly that the genre of music that is leading the chart right now doesn't fully back that. Yeah, because when the tempo is high, it shadows the lyrics, and when the tempo is low, the lyrics shadows the tempo. And when you take reggae for instance, that's what reggae does. The lyrics is very important when it comes to reggae. So every other person listening to a reggae song paid more attention to the lyrics, because the person might be in a meditating mood, and in that mood, the lyrics is what you want to be hearing more. The lyrics is what you want, not just the beat. Yes, not just the drums, the guitar, and other things. No, they're very important. They just escort the lyrics. They escort the lyrics and make it smooth and make you receive it smoothly. You see the difference? So that is it. Afrobeat is Afrobeat. Afrobeat is also new, like I said earlier. So let's give it time. Probably it's gathering the the listeners. When you get the listening base, when you get the listeners, it might start speaking about other things. Yes. So the legends should know all of this and know Africa, we're not neglecting our continent. No, because he said something about people from his country, play songs to fight for, the freedom of Africa. That's right. People from his, country play songs to, to fight for us, which we really appreciate it, which we love them, because we all want people, right? We really appreciate their effort and everything they've done so far, and they're still doing. We really appreciate it, and we're also doing our part. Just that we're not using the Afrobeat to do it, because I've explained that already. The tempo of Afrobeat is different. The tempo of Afrobeat requires for dancing. So when the tempo is that high, the lyrics is not what people pay attention to the most. What they pay attention to the most when it comes to such situation is, unfortunately, the tempo, not the lyrics. So that is it. So I would say, very big thank to you for reminding us. And like I said earlier, there are people doing it, just that they are not as big as the people so you've not heard it. And even the people you've not heard those songs from them, because when they get there, the tempo of the song is being toned down so the lyrics could be heard. So those songs are not as loud as the popular songs from those artists that Okay, so the channel remains The Rains Studios. Subscribe to the channel, support us, by subscribing. Join us in the comment section. Tell us what you think about this. See you next week. Thank you.